All right, welcome to Bourbon and Real Estate. I'm joined once again by Mark Berger and Rob Wolf. Thank you guys so much for joining, as always. And we're drinking some Kentucky Owl today, given to me by Donna Deet, and this was the Takumi edition. I'm probably butchering the name.
Where is that from?
So Kentucky Owl is obviously Kentucky, but this is
Takumi?
in celebration of our desire to collaborate with the like-minded, innovative spirits. Kentucky Owl has partnered with Japanese master blender Yahasi Yasuki to help create our Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. This Takumi edition brings together traditional blending skills of selecting rare whiskey barrels and unique flavor profiles with the expertise of our master blender, John Ria, resulting in this exceptional and unique limited release. So it definitely has more of the flavor of like a Japanese whiskey, as opposed
Definitely born and aged in Kentucky.
Yes.
Gotcha.
This is it.
So it is
Did
a
you try it
bourbon.
yet?
Yeah, it's great.
I love it.
Love the label too.
It is a killer label. So cheers. Thank you guys for watching. That's it. No.
Now we can drink the rest of the bottle.
Right.
So no, it's very good.
No, so wanted to have you guys on. Obviously, I appreciate that you each have a unique perspective on what's going on in the market, what's going on with rates, etc. So, Rob, tell me, what are you seeing currently with rates?
Really, the last 30 days, 45 days, pretty static. As an industry, we've been kind of stuck in that 6.75%, 7% window, little tad over 7, which freaks everybody out on one day that 7 sounds so much higher than 6 and 7/8. But I think that this week's Fed meeting was Wednesday. A little bit of insecurities came from that. Market went kind of nuts. We repriced to the worst. An hour later, everybody digested it. We repriced to the better, all in the same day, to kind of give you an idea of how nutty the market itself is. My opinion, and Berger could maybe follow up, I think most of the year it's going to be like this. I think we're going to be 6.5 to 7.5 for the calendar 23, which is about where it's been. Nothing shocking. I think we're all used to it.
But we didn't think that was going to happen. We thought Q3, Q4 we were going to turn around, right? And it.
Yeah, the things we read were kept saying be ready for the refi boom, in the fall, which we all love because it slows down late fall. And if that happens, great. I'm not betting on that. Q2, I would have to say. Q3 next year. Luckily, we do a rate redo at Prime, so people that we've closed up until now. And if we refinance them next year, we will waive the lender fees, so there won't be underwriting processing. We're not going to double dip those to get people back down into the lower rates.
So let me just say that every prognostication I've heard on interest rates heretofore is wrong.
Well, shit. How many times did we say that they were going to go to 6 in 2019?
I've never been right. Having said that, it seems to me the one thing that I do know from a longer perspective of this, and check me if I'm right, Rob, these rates typically key off the 10-year. And the spread between the 10-year and the 30-year right now is 3%. And traditionally, it's been 2. So I'm thinking when things stable out just a little bit, so we know that they're not going any higher and everybody's not nervous about it, I think they'll naturally shrink 0.5%, just with nothing happening other than stability.
Over how much time, though? 6 months?
Yeah, it could happen very quickly.
So 6 weeks.
Yeah. No, the terminal rate's going to happen sometime this summer. After that, I mean, it could slide down a little bit. So
yeah,
I'm just being the optimist.
I'd like to see it.
Sorry, yeah.
No, well, I was just reading an article, and I read plenty of them. But this one was saying basically like, hey, all the analysts were wrong. First, second quarter, we're all wrong, thinking that the interest rates would push the buyer demand down, and it just didn't. So short of them raising it to 8.5, which we hope to not see, I don't foresee that happening. I mean,
I'm with you. I think we've already gone through the brunt of it, and I think though that this week the mixed messages with the Fed and my thoughts on the Fed, and I think the Fed has done good to catch up after being way behind on reacting.
Yes.
My fear is I've hoped that we haven't been swimming upstream to get halfway to the dock, and now we're done swimming maybe, and we're just going to drift back because
you're going to drown.
Well, my opinion is that I think we should have kept the hammer down until we get to where we were supposed to be. All the news this week, it's great, we've cut inflation in half. We've done all these things, and to people that don't pay much attention to it, it sounds great. Hey, the Fed's cut things in half, but the last half is the tough half if you listen to most shows, and I hope we're not just treading water by treading water.
Sure.
I'd rather just be ugly for 6 more months, and that way we finish the process and get it over, and then really jam next year.
Well, and we've had the discussion multiple times on, hey, these people that bought at 2.5 or refied at 2.5, 3.5%, they're not moving
Right.
because prices. Yeah, they're going to have a ton of equity in their home, but it's just sticker shock for them to see a 7% interest rate.
Right.
This continues on though for another year and a half. Now you have people that are going to PCS. They're going to move. They're going to relocate. That are going to move anyway because they're already at a 6.5, 7% interest rate, and
Right.
have to. I mean, people move out of necessity more than they do want, or at least that used to be the case.
Right.
Until 2020.
Right. And we're seeing a lot of that. The bad part of some of the necessity moves is it's good news and bad news. The good news is they qualify for both houses. So the bad news is they're buying the new one and not putting one on the market
Right.
to create more inventory because they don't have to right now. Now they quickly do after because the market is still peaked and they know they're going to make good money. But, you know, in the past, how long?
Jeez.
We need to smack. You know, in the past, everybody kind of sold and bought. And so the inventory just kept flowing. And now we're seeing a lot more people buy and then decide to do it the current house later.
Well, go ahead.
So my question is this to you, both of you guys, because you see thousands of transactions go through the system, and you see thousands of loans go through your system. Has the mortgage, the house size or mortgage size, changed at all? Are the lower levels having a tough time now versus the higher? Is that where we're getting this intermediation is the lower kind of levels?
Yeah,
price ranges.
The lower price range just doesn't exist. Like it used
And that's
to.
the problem.
I mean, you don't have $150,000 entry point for so many buyers.
Right.
It's now $250,000. I mean, unfortunately, that is where we're at.
Right.
So obviously that's not going to change. I think you're seeing geographically, and we've talked about this too, you're seeing people change their geographic search. You know, they wanted to be in this area because of the schools. Now they're okay with being out here. And that's going to change the school systems as well, because you're now dispersing wealth in multiple areas, which brings in more tax dollars, which brings in better school funding, et cetera. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out over the next 20 years, because you've been doing this a long time. Have you ever seen anything like this?
Oh no.
I mean, we call it our pricing council, where we get together and we do 30-second analysis of properties, and they don't take us 30 seconds anymore. They take us about 2 minutes, where we say, hold on, this one down the road just went up, and they got this, and it's, you know, the price per square foot.
And it's always a surprise to the upside, though, from where we are.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's like, oh, that's $350. No, it's not. It's $390.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, those days of just throwing a dart and pinpointing it in 30 seconds are gone, because we have new comps every day and more cash infusion, which sucks for you, but
Right.
more people buying cash than I've ever seen.
Right. And us too, because we have people that we've approved, and grandma's got money. They know they're not going to get the house if they don't write cash.
Let's
They
get
do.
it from
and again,
grandma.
we can help them down the road, and we do. But those people that are refinancing, if grandma had that kind of cash, they're not refinancing when it's 7.
Right.
They're going to refinance in 3 years when it's 4,
Right.
and give grandma back their money. So, and to kind of further what you said about the price point, it's odd to think that 22 and into 23 are, and I say from my team's number,
Yeah.
average per transaction has gone up.
Oh, yeah.
And mainly because the sales point was 235, 237, 240. Now it's more 255, 260.
Yeah.
So we're happy because we're not closing as many transactions that the transaction number has been higher.
Right.
But there is that under 200,000.
So we're not
Is
seeing any
hardly
shrinkage
existent.
at all as far as sale price, average sale price.
I don't think our area has seen it, even though you're
Are we
reading-
going
Well,
to?
we saw it January, February, and more particularly in the 250 range than we did in the 300-400.
But are you seeing a decline or a slow?
They actually went down nationally.
go down? Okay.
It went down, I think 5% in Q1. We don't have that in Dayton, Ohio. I'm well aware. We didn't have it in 2008 when we saw the crisis. we had it. It just wasn't to the same extent that we saw
Wasn't
your
quite as
Las
dramatic.
Vegas, your
Yeah.
Florida, your California, and New York. So we've always been steady because we have a large stream of PCSing, and
Right.
Pat provides a huge stability to the area. So interesting to see what is going to happen over the course of the next year. Like you said, our volume hasn't suffered a ton. We saw a pullback or a slow with regards to how much volume our offices do. But because the sale price is up so much higher than what it was 3 years ago, we don't need to make it up in transactions.
Right. And I would say the same. We've noticed the same. We've taken a reduction of what we've made, but not as dramatic as you would think based on
Right.
unit count, because the average per is so much higher, probably 20%.
Well,
Where are we going to get the housing for these kids?
That's a 10-year fix.
My God. I mean,
auxiliary dwelling units,
I think,
ADUs,
I
tiny
think so.
homes.
I think
Yeah,
so.
Put one in my backyard, hook it to the
They're
plumber.
going to split. So they're going to allow us to start splitting up lots and putting a second unit on them.
A lot of municipalities have.
Yeah.
I mean, you can only print so much land, right? You can't print anymore.
No.
So yeah, something has to change.
Put Granny in the pool house, or we put her in the home. What do we like? So.
Yeah. Oh, what else do you guys think is going to happen? Predictions?
It's going to be a slog. 2023 is going to be kind of a slog.
Slog.
Slog. Yeah, it's a real word. Look it up.
I think
Look on the
I
internet.
think you said slaw.
And then, yeah, but like Rob said, it's not going to be monumental in any shape or the form. We just got to get used to it. It's a different pace for us over the freneticism of 21 to whatever.
Use big words like that when
shut
we're
up.
drinking.
We have a very sophisticated audience.
Freneticism.
Come on.
I was going to have to go back and rewatch that. Catch that word, but yeah,
vocabulary
I think
today.
the problem now is there's so many other variables that weren't there. Because we all lived, and you were in a big chunk of it. What, after 05, 06? I mean, you really lived through the pain of 08 through 10.
Oh, yeah.
When you were opening, but Berger and I, we did .com. We were through 9/11. And all those had their own challenges. 9/11 was weird because nobody did anything, but that lasted 90 to 180 days,
Sure.
and it was gone. This scenario, the bad part is you've got the government saying, we need to increase unemployment to fix this. There's so many things that it needs to happen because everything else is so strong. And if you look at the stock market, weird things like S&P, we've been over 4,300, first time for a month in 4 years. Whatever the windows are, and all those things go into play. But there's so many great things about the economy that's why I don't think it's such a quick fix, because there's so many things that
It
are
used
good.
to be a one-trick pony. We'll get interest
Yep.
rates up and everything else will slow down automatically. Not so much anymore.
Yep. And you've got people finally now saying rates were too low for too long, like we all did when we were doing 2.5s back in 20 and 21. It's like it just can't keep up.
I remember Chris Dawson saying, I think it was 2019, 2020, everyone has too much money. And I couldn't fathom what that even meant.
Yes.
And that was 100% the case.
Yep.
Now you talk about people having 30 to 40% equity in their homes. And it's like everybody has, because they can leverage it still.
Yep.
Now, we've talked in the past about guidelines for second homes, and those have changed dramatically over the last year.
Dramatic.
So for people that aren't aware, go ahead and explain what has changed with guidelines for purchasing that second home, even though it's really a vacation rental.
Right. Second home and non-owner occupied in general, meaning an investment property, have changed as of August of last year. Prior to August of last year, you bought second home, go in. The only rule was 10% down instead of 5. Same rate, same fees, same everything, same criteria, same underwrite, easy. Fannie and Freddie finally caught up with the fact that we were all buying second homes.
For
that
3 and
we knew we were
4%,
going to put
yeah.
on where it was Airbnb or a long-term lease or whatever it was going to be. People did that, but the rules allowed for you to buy a property that you were going to occasionally use and call it a second home. Now they've put so many adjustments to those that, I mean, we're talking the difference in 3/4 of a point in rate and 2 to 3 points in closing cost money to buy a second home. And so many people don't know that we get the call, hey, I'm going to buy a second home in Florida. Sweet, here's your, wait, what? And we know what they're doing because I get all the triggers that they've called 3 other lenders, and we don't tell them that, but I get the triggers that I know what they've done. And then they call back and I'll always say, what'd you find out? exactly what we told you. We don't like it either because it's painful. It's really cut off our second home vein, which we did a ton of.
Yeah, because you're licensed in how many states?
25 or something. 50, 40, 44.
55.
No, 44. Yeah, I'm licensed in 57
great,
states.
Man. You're awesome.
You got to count the Virgin Islands and northern part of Cuba. But, nonetheless, I think 44 is the states that we're in. But the process of all that, we did so much, especially in Florida and Texas, so much non-owner occupied.
Yeah.
And I would say this year, for me, that's probably down 75%.
I was going to say more. But
including second home, because we did so many second homes in Florida that were going to be legit second homes, but they also became short-term rentals.
Right.
Fannie and Freddie finally caught up with that from looking at what was defaulting and things like that, and they figured it out, and they added
Were they
adjustments.
really seeing defaults there, or do you think that had to be part of the broader scope of how do we control this problem that we have of demand? And I mean, we know certain markets like Phoenix where corporations were going in and buying 25% of all homes.
It might have been a little of both.
Yeah.
The default rate, again, because rates even on, you figure second home rates 2 years ago were 3%.
Yeah.
I mean, if you default on that, then you really missed the boat on what you were
You're
doing.
not
You have
renting
lost your
property.
job.
Right.
correctly.
It's something is wrong, especially, cash flow wise. So I'd say it's probably a little bit of both. I know that some of the criteria that we got from Fannie and Freddie was they were looking and analyzing lenders that had more than a 9% portfolio of second homes and investment. So people that were at 10 and 11, which is still only, you got 89% of the other good.
Sure.
And 11%, they were still hitting those and going, these rules kicked in quicker for that group early last year. And then it just went across the board after.
Well, they're bleeding some of it out in different ways, but it's just a slower, more painful process than we would like.
But as we try to tell people, on a cash flowing property, okay, so the rate's 8 and you're 3 points in, it's a little more out of pocket going in. You're going to have a little more cash flow going into it. If the whole thing cash flows like a legit good cash flow,
It's a business.
it right on. It is. Now, second home's a different animal. If you're truly buying it to maybe kind of go down there once a month and that kind of thing, that became a little pricey. I don't know that we've seen as much non-owner occupied investment go away as we have second home.
If somebody had enough equity in their home, not saying that this number is going to be large for a second home in a Florida market, right? Average sales price is way higher than ours. But if they do have enough equity in their home, they could do a cash out refi, go buy the property cash, and then what's the seasoning now for refi? Cash out refi on the new property to pay off the HELOC and the original?
You're really 12 months if you're thinking the real number. So you could do that. You're just going to tie your money up for whatever the amount of time is, but you figure your equity in your home, the equity in your home right now isn't growing.
No.
Your house is growing at the same pace whether you owe 300 or 100 grand.
Sure.
So the equity that you just used was already dead. And if you're making money on cash flow on that equity,
Do it.
then okay, maybe it's only 1% now. 2027 is probably going to be 4 to 5%. I'm just saying on.
Take his word for it. No.
Yeah. That's why I went out.
Guaranteed it.
27, 28. Give me a couple years because at 58 I might be done by then. And anyway, I'm just being funny, but So I think that if you have usable equity in your home, there are many ways to get at that, and that is the way to go because that money isn't doing anything but sitting in your house.
Oh, I agree.
Doesn't cost you anything interest rate wise, and it's appreciating at the same level.
Abigail was laughing at us.
I think she's laughing because Don Foder just came in and walked out. And he's walking around.
Yeah, he's coming in the back.
Okay, cameo shot, not a big deal.
All right. Any last?
No, just strap in. Is this going to be kind of a
don't be afraid
uphill
to
here
buy.
for a little bit?
Look
Like
at
watching crypto grow.
Oh, jeez. Don't go there.
Well, the biggest thing is look at rate charts. Date back, even go back as far as 70. 7 3/4 is the average 50-year rate. Yes. Rates are 6 3/4, 7-ish.
Oh,
Rates are still affordable. They're just so many people
It's just
were
too much of a
brainwashed
shock.
that if it wasn't 3, it wasn't good.
It was sticker shock. I don't think it is anymore, but
Still better to buy than rent.
my gosh, rental rates are through the roof, and that's why you said people are hanging on to their properties because their mortgage is $1,000 a month, $1,300, $1,500, whatever. They're able to get $2,000 a month on rent,
especially locally with your PCS people that come in and will rent for short term and
So, thank you guys for watching. We'll see you on the next one.
Good day.